Sarah, how much solar energy you got stored up?
About enough for a 10, maybe 15-year leap.
Okay, good. Let's get to it. That was bright. Oh boy. Oh. Ugh. Wait a minute. The hell? Where the hell am I? Did I leap? Why is it so dark here? Oh, there's a flashlight. Huh. Okay, not entirely sure how the hell I got here, and man, it feels off. Not quite sure what though. Everything looks right. Oh well. There's a game show to review, and I'm gonna review it. A little weirdness never stopped me, right? I'm your game show reviewer, and this is a review of Pop Quiz Hot Shot. Hello and welcome to the Game Show Reviewer, where bad game shows are mercilessly roasted. Now, before we begin, I'm sure a lot of you out there are probably going to proudly proclaim that I am standing on the set of one of the biggest duds in game show history. But let me assure you, I am not here to discuss online drama or anything that might have happened outside of the production of this show that may have colored opinions about this show. I am here quite simply... Actually, I don't really know why or even how I got here. Yeah, you know what? I've got an AI aboard a numerically named spaceship, might be able to give me a hand. Reviewer to Comic-Con 1, Nimue, are you receiving me?
Confirmed.
Okay, Nimue, I'll be reviewing this game show down here. I want you to look into how I left here, and more importantly, how do I leap out of here?
Confirmed.
All right, thanks, Nimue. And while Nimue is working on that, let's get started. Pop Quiz Hot Shot is a production of the internet content creation company Channel Awesome. Now, if you don't know about Channel Awesome, it's basically a company born out of a group of internet personalities banding together to help produce and promote their content. The vast majority of these content creators are internet reviewers. I'm not even going to bother defining that because you're basically watching one right now. Anyways, the company was looking for ways to expand their productions or to get more content out for people to view. The show that's our focus today was one of those expansion ideas. So, brief history lesson out of the way, let's take a gander at Pop Quiz Hot Shot.
Are you ready, Matt?
Yes.
Are you ready, Ryan? Go! Throw the garbage pail DVDs into the garbage pail!
We start off with the contestants of the day doing some sort of physical challenge. Remind you of anything?
It's Family Double Dare.
Hey, cool, got it right on the first try, too. Well, anyways, you might be noticing right about now that the production values look a little on the low budget side. There's a very good reason for this. Because it's a low budget show. Like pretty much all the other CA productions, these are people running on a shoestring budget trying to bring you entertainment. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but admittedly the low budget feel is usually part of the charm of a CA production. I will admit though, here it is a little distracting. Anyways, this physical challenge grants 10 points to the winner, and it sometimes gives inspiration to the episode title. Oh right, I forgot to mention there's an episode title with these shows. It's easy to forget because it's never referenced, it's never even shown on screen, but it's there. Specifically on the YouTube video page. After the physical challenge, we get...
Quiz Hot Shot.
I'm the nostalgia critic, and ever since I was a child, I always wanted to play games quoting movies and TV with my friends. The only problem was, I had no friends. Well, now that I have power, I can take my friends by force.
Okay, this is gonna sound unbelievably hypocritical, especially coming from me, but a storyline for a game show?
What if every time you went window shopping, someone came along right after you and bought you everything you wanted?
Oh, come on, at least that one wasn't intrusive. That one simply made the excuse why the set looked like it did. Admittedly, it's a nice brief storyline that makes for a decent title sequence, but in my opinion, it doesn't really serve the show that much. Well, after the titles, our host, the nostalgia critic played by Doug Walker, takes time to introduce our players for the day. Now, you might also notice this guy in a military uniform between the two contestants. This would be General Anesthetic, as described in the intro. He's basically the critic's sidekick, keeping the contestants at their podiums at gunpoint. He does a good job, and he does the rule read-off too. However, like I said, this whole hostage storyline really does feel a bit superfluous and forced, especially for a game show. I will say this kind of storyline might work for a standard review show, but that's not what we have here. Anyways, after the rule read-off, which is your standard trivia show format, we have round 1. Here, the critic reads off usually quote-based questions to the contestants. Unlike your typical red-button quiz shows, though, he specifically gives one question to one contestant and then the next to the other. Now, I'm more a fan of the traditional red-button buzzing system, but this format works much better for this show because there are 2 ways for points to be granted.
Now I know what you're thinking. Reviewer, how could there possibly be more than one way to answer the same question? Well, I'll show you. One way is the traditional way.
What Christmas movie had the line, Fragile must be Italian?
A Christmas Story.
Yes!
And the other is to make the critic laugh.
In Tombstone, what character told Johnny Ringo, I'm your Huckleberry?
Tom Sawyer?
I'm not even going to answer that, just don't give him points.
Yeah, that's why I review game shows and I don't do stand-up.
Like I said, I kind of prefer the classic smash the buzzer trying to answer first format, but because this is sort of a hybrid between a classic quiz show and a comedy show, it actually kind of works. This goes back and forth until...
Hey, President. Why don't I just castrate those things?
Whammies show up? No, actually, these are the Spazzies. Okay, clearly a whammy ripoff. But admittedly, with the 2D limited frame animation of these guys, it kind of recaptures the magic of the original Press Your Luck whammies. So the whammy, damn it, Spazzy shows up, spooks the critic, and the players have to try to ring in first. Oh, that's right, those Tupperware-looking things on their podiums are actually lights. This is the one and only time they're used. The reason they're ringing in now is because if they don't ring in first, the critic dictates a punishment for the players to endure. For example, they might be made to play the second round as Rita Repulsa from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, or as the Joker from Batman. And while the wardrobe change is happening, we're treated to the whammy, Spazzy cartoon, which...
Hey Elizabeth, you want to play Star Wars? No, I'm not up for playing today. Oh, but come on, I'm Darth Vader, I have the Force. I can even break your neck.
Okay, on the plus side, the animation really feels like the famous Press Your Luck whammies, and this has the added bonus of adding the charm of an 80s game show. Unfortunately, these cartoons are just downright gruesome usually. Any of the 80s game show charm is just destroyed by them.
Wow, I don't know who animates those, but I should give them some of my medication.
And what's more, while the main title sequence advertises them like they're part of the main game, this is the only time they're brought up. Yes, the whammies were only in use during the spin round, but their presence was always felt. They were enough of a threat during both spin rounds so that they were virtually a mascot for the show.
Don't awaken the whammies. Sometimes they're gone. I'm going to find out. Sometimes they're not even home, and you just play the game and don't worry about it. But I'm going to find out because sometimes, Anybody in here? Look at this. They must have taken the wardrobe man, and he was such a nice guy. They ate him.
Hell, when the show was relaunched, it was actually called Whammy, the all-new Press Your Luck. And while Pop Quiz Hotshot tries to do the same with their whammies, spazzies, since it doesn't really affect gameplay and only really signal the end of round 1, it's just not the same.
And it's onward and upward to round 2.
Where the questions get even harder.
This round is exactly the same as round 1. With the exception of one player now effectively trying to cosplay as a pop culture character, there is seriously no difference. The category is the same, the point values are the same, and honestly, the difficulty really seems to stay about the same. I will go this far though, I will admit the contestant who was screwed over by the whammy, holy Hannah, spazzy attack, is at a disadvantage. Now they not only have to come up with either the correct answer or a funny reply, but they also have to stay in character the entire time. So that does kind of hamper their thinking power. This round lasts for about 10 to 12 minutes before a bell signals the end of the round. At this point, the player with the lowest score is eliminated.
Donald, farewell, adieu. If that's even a word. It probably is. It's a word I made up. But what is not being made up is your death. Yes, take care, my friend. Take care. Be sure to shoot him in the... Yes, that's the spot.
That might be the most permanent elimination ever seen on a game show. Of course, it's all done for the storyline aspect. Again, not something I entirely agree with, not only because it casts a bit of a gloomy atmosphere on the whole thing. Okay, admittedly, that's probably what they're going for. But it also really kind of falls flat for comedy, at least for me.
Of course, if anyone had actually thought ahead to arm themselves, they wouldn't be in that predicament. All right, well, anyway, so it's one commercial break, and then it's back to the action with the bonus round. But we're going to take a quick break ourselves. We'll be right back with more of Pop Quiz Hot Shot. And welcome back, my friends, to Pop Quiz Hot Shot, Channel Awesome's internet game show. Let's get right back into the action with the bonus round.
At this point in the show, the winner of the front game takes on the nostalgia critic himself with quote-related questions. These are more rapid-fire style than the front game questions, and this time they're all themed up.
All right, I'm going to be reading each of you Quentin Tarantino quotes. You're going to have to match the quote with the movie.
There are 7 questions per player, this time all presented by the general here. Now, I've got a complaint. We see the scoreboards are there on the podium being the host podium, very slightly redressed. So why can't we have a running tally on the screen? Instead, the show goes into full-on shaky cam mode. You can easily lose track of who's winning and who's losing. On a positive note, though, I rather like having the general doing the hosting here. He makes a very fine announcer for the show and effectively a good sidekick for the critic. Going back to the style of this round, though, here's a thought. Why switch the set around at all? Why not just have the critic at the loser's podium, the general at the host podium, and use the setup you already have? Heck, using that setup, you could have some creative split screening going on, complete with an on-screen scorekeeper. Maybe even use those lights on the podium to indicate whose turn it is. Which would actually be a really cool idea for the main game now that I think about it. Sorry, just thinking out loud and starting to ramble. So after our little lightning round is done and over with, we have... Look, I know it's supposed to be a reference to the 8 and 16-bit games of the 90s, I get that, but good gravy, this doesn't come close to matching anything else we've seen on this show. Couldn't we have something like one of the whammies, damn it, the spazzies sitting on the podium holding up a sign that says critic wins or other guy wins or something like that? That would match with the established style of the show and help incorporate the whammies, good gravy, the spazzies into the show more. The grand prizes, by the way, are announced before the round begins, and it's...
We'll win this!
The Holy Grail paperclip holder for the person who has everything and clearly doesn't need it. Also $100 in cash, and of course, you're live.
Beautiful.
Maybe I was giving too much credit when I said shoestring budget. Okay, we'll look past all that. After all is said and done, the winner is crowned, literally. The critic per storyline either lets the contestant free or has the general take him out back. Credit roll with the general and the critic, and we're out of here.
We're too mean here. I'll see you next time on Pop Quiz Hot Shot.
Now, I'm going to give my honest opinion here in a minute, but first, well, remember my history lesson at the top of the show? Well, there was something I omitted from it, mainly because I wasn't sure I wanted to talk about it or not. But since it is a part of the show's official history, I really don't have much of a choice. So, yeah, here goes.
Before Pop Quiz Hot Shot hit the net in its current form, many other test episodes were filmed. Only one of these was chosen by Channel Awesome to release as a pilot episode. So let's have a look-see.
On your marks, get set, go! Well, my job's done. I hit the on button. Alright, catch those fish, boys! I would ask if this is the cheap dollar store version of this game, but I can't honestly remember what the original version was called. Magnet fish. That's what it's called. Alright, now, just remember this.
Okay, right off the bat, the audio is much worse. And is he holding a shotgun microphone? Later episodes would have both the contestants and the host wearing lavalier microphones, which kind of makes the ones on the podium seem pointless now that I think about it. And I can't say the physical challenge here is any better or worse, although you might notice there's no point value with it. You might also notice this other guy other than the good general wearing a white military-style uniform. They never name him in dialogue, but according to the credit, he's Colonel Kink. Of course, he's only around for the physical challenges in the final round. So, moving right along.
I'm Brad Jones. This is Pop Quiz Hot Shot.
Brad Jones. My name is synonymous with nostalgia, but one thing has eluded me. The game show. I always wanted to try my hand at running the elusive prize, but when the powers that be refused, I had to take matters into my own hands. With the aid of
Wow, the storyline here is actually longer than the one on the production show, so it's a good thing that it was trimmed down. We also have another new character in the form of Miss Stockholm, played by CA regular Tamara Chambers. Her character is apparently a hostage as well, according to the title sequence, and she stays in character by reading off the rules very nervously. Well, I hate to say it, but while she's doing a good job conveying nervousness in the rule read-off, it's also really sending the vibe like no one really knows how this game is played. The next change you might notice is that this has now become a red button quiz show. Now you might expect me to like this change, but like I said earlier, the red button pushing doesn't really jive with the comedy quiz show thing that they were going for. Oh wait, that's right. That rule of making the host laugh hasn't been written yet. Well, admittedly, the red button format does lead to moments like this.
True or false? Well, true or false?
True.
Go ahead. That's actually correct.
If only those kinds of moments happen more often. What confuses me is how the pacing can feel so slow when our host is reading off these questions so quickly. Alright, that's Brad Jones as our host, otherwise known as the Cinema Snob. His review style is a bit less energized than the critic, which unfortunately doesn't translate that well to the game show format. Honestly, he really does seem to be bored standing at the podium, just reading off the questions. I get the feeling that both hosts are basically trying to be Mark Summers in terms of energy. It's just that Doug gets a little closer to that mark. Now, of course, that could be because it's his show and he's really just that into it.
In the land before time, the villainous Sharptooth was what kind of dinosaur?
Tyrannosaurus Rex.
That'd be the Tyrannosaurus Rex, because what other one would it be?
Okay, I just realized why the pacing seems so slow. There's no incidental music being played in the background, and there's no studio audience. Take note of how the later show remedied these points, and as a result, it feels like a faster-paced show. And remember the whammy, spazzy attack? Well, here it's just a klaxon sound effect with very little reaction from the host or the contestants. And unlike the production show, this one doesn't signal the end of a round. More like the midpoint of a round. Miss Stockholm fills us in on the punishment, but this one only lasts until the end of this round. Anyways, moving right along, there was a second physical challenge to kick off round 2. Again, pointless because it doesn't affect gameplay in the slightest. And then we have...
This is the part where I adjust my microphone, and we get to know a little something more about the people who we might end up killing.
The contestant introduction? We're nearly halfway through the show and only now we're getting the contestant introduction? Again, remedied in the new show. Round 2 is, once again, identical to Round 1, complete with the mid-round cosplaying. It sort of feels like the entire front game from the new show is played twice with no reset of the scores. And at the end of this round, just like on the new show, the loser is eliminated. And good gravy, look at those scores! Can you say one-sided? The back and forth format of the new show actually prevented this from happening as badly as it did here, which is a definite step up.
Are you ready? Okay, here we go. No man is worth the aggravation. That's ancient history. Been there, done.
Mulan.
No, Hercules. Love is an open door. Life can be so much more.
Mulan.
Frozen.
You thought I had a problem with the way the final round was presented in the new show? Well, the way it's presented in the pilot is even worse. This time, the scoreboards aren't even on the podium. The shaky cam is still in effect, but using only the shotgun microphone as the only audio source feels like a big mistake, as it can be often hard to hear answers or even questions sometimes. With the exception of everything I listed off here, though, the final round is identical to the new show. It's still a face-off between the contestant and the critic, and then we have the score read-off by Ms. Stockholm, and we're done.
All right, that caps off history, and I already, of course, talked about gameplay, so what's my final take on this internet game show, you ask? Well...
Okay, I know a lot of folks drew their final conclusion about Pop Quiz Hotshot by watching only the pilot episode, and that conclusion hasn't changed at all for most of them. Well, my opinion is this. The pilot episode had a ton of problems, but it really should be looked at as more of a concept video than a pilot. I mean, think about it. They filmed untold amounts of test episodes, and I'm going to assume that this one was their best example. Up until that point, the only people who had seen the show were the in-house folks. When it was released, it was very widely condemned for various reasons, but there were constructive criticisms being fired back as well. I'm not going to stand here and proclaim that the production run of Pop Quiz Hotshot is the internet equivalent of the legendary pyramid. It does still have problems, to be sure, but it is better than the pilot episode by a pretty decent margin. Another problem with this show is that, well, there just isn't as big of a demand for it. I mean, if you think about it, if you watch a game show and you want to watch it again, you want to watch a new episode. If it's a rerun that they're airing, you have a tendency to change the channel. The internet, on the other hand, is based almost exclusively on rewatching and repeats, so the rewatchability factor is virtually non-existent for a game show. And as for the low budget of the show, well, see, network game shows get their cash from the network. They in turn get cash to give away via advertising revenue. Now you might get some of that on the web, but probably not nearly enough to support a game show like this. So I'll summarize by saying this. Pop Quiz Hotshot is a game show that has problems, probably more than its fair share. But it's not really a bad show. I recommend giving it a watch through. The new show, not the pilot. Good gravy, the pilot was nearly unwatchable. But the new show was decent enough, and I urge you to draw your conclusions from the 11 production episodes. And I will also say, I look forward to new episodes as well.
I'm the Nostalgia Critic, and fuck that guy!
And that pretty much wraps that up. Join me next time when I look at a pair of classic game shows that got a revival in 2016. Okay, I can't do this anymore. I feel like I'm in the wrong show or something. Reviewer to Comicron 1, Nimue, you got anything?
That's not, I mean, she couldn't have.
Oh, but she did, sir. This was no accident. She must have strapped something to the hull or something to make it explode.
Not that it really matters now. I mean, that's it. We're done. We're not getting back to 2260 now.
Well, at least we have one advantage, sir. You're still in this time frame right now reviewing Legends of the Hidden Temple. You could slip a warning to yourself. You'll still be here for a few hours more.
No, I've already run into myself one too many times this trip. Although...
Sir?
got my first good idea. Come on.
Not like I have much of a choice in this anyways.
Oh, so that's what happened. You know, I had a headache for a week after that explosion. I couldn't figure out why. And until we saw that, I didn't even know that had happened. But, there you go, I guess. Alright, so anyways, like, I guess I said in that parallel universe or whatever, join me next month for a very special 5-minute review where we take a look at ABC's Summer of Fun and Games. Yes, it's finally time. We're checking out Match Game and we're checking out the $100,000 Pyramid Revival. But until then, I'm your game show reviewer, reviewing the game show greats and the occasional dud. Happy April Fool's Day, everyone, and I'll see you next time.